Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we were continuing the Enemy Below storyline and found some dead tech priest, and now we're going to continue that and investigate the base of the requisitional expedition.
Data search detects 3 locations with faint traces of machine spirit activity. Closer inspection recommended. Marauders defiling the sanctuaries of the Omnissiah need to be eliminated.
So this is a bit of a bold concept here, simply because we haven't even had as of recording, we haven't had a release date for the Leagues of Votann yet. But I wonder what's next for 40K. And that's why I think it's a bit bold to be like, oh, this new thing got announced, what about after? But I do wonder, because that's always a thing here, is what's the next thing? There's been an announcement for Kill Team. They're adding Trader Guard as a kill team you can get. So one thing that came to my mind was, hey, are we finally going to get Trader Guardsmen getting, support? Are we getting maybe a codex? I don't think a codex, because all the timetable stuff and the roadmap hasn't shown it. At least I think none of it has hinted towards it. It didn't look like it to me. But it just makes me wonder, is that potentially something down the line? Are we going to get like an old faction kind of revisited? Are we just going to get some new stuff that's not that important? Oh, here's more orcs riding animals. It's cool, but is it really all that important? I'd like to see, I'd like to see a full, almost, I guess the term feral doesn't really fit for them since they just use animals. They're not really feral orcs, but more wild orcs as a separate sub-faction. I'd like to see Kroot get, anything. Vespoids, honestly, non-Tau. The Tau needs some non-Tau stuff. It'd be nice. I feel like it's kind of about time to give Tau other support. God, it's like I was watching Dice Check. Good channel. I watch him because one of the guys, Matt, I used to watch his League of Legends stuff. Because his other YouTube account is Magikarp Used Fly. And I used to watch all that stuff when I used to play League. And he was talking about playing Tyranids. And it was one of their little, kind of just podcasty, but not really a podcast kind of deals. And they're talking, and then he's like, yeah, what sucks is he got in at 8th edition. And he goes, and the thing there was, they didn't, warriors were cheap. And now, because warriors got buffed, they're way more expensive. And that's always one thing that floors me, is it falls back to the perceived value thing that I hate just so much. And it's like, oh, well, now that they're good, we need to charge more for them. And it's like, no, stop. Let people make the armies. Stop trying to exploit. It's not even FOMO at this point. It's exploiting balance. Can you imagine that? Let's say it's Magic the Gathering. You need a very basic card, not a land or something, but a card that's fairly common. You know, everybody runs it. It's not a super fancy one. It's no Black Lotus kind of thing. It's just current booster, like maybe an uncommon. You know, you're gonna pick them up in boosters over time. It's not a big deal. But if suddenly they were like, oh hey, you can buy them directly, but we're gonna charge like $20 a card, it would be absurd, especially as like a core thing. You know, it's not Commander where it's like, oh well, you're effectively paying for a pre-built deck that you're gonna modify, and the Commander, and you can only run one Commander, so it makes sense. But this is, you know, a general card you're gonna run a couple of. It's not super special in any certain way. It just does its job, and that's what they did to Tyranid Warriors. And it's like, why? They nerfed the hell out of Gene Stealers, so people who bought Gene Stealers effectively now are shafted. Because what are you gonna do? Run some wimpy Gene Stealers? No, you're gonna run the better unit for the better cost, but they price hiked them. And it's like, just charge a flat rate. That just drives me nuts. Charge a flat rate for your miniatures. Don't try any shiesty shit where you're like, oh, it got buffed, so now we gotta double the price. No, you don't. Shut your goofy ass up. If you want to charge extra money for a miniature, offer special editions. That's my thing. I will always use as an example the tabletop game Carnival. Very interesting setting. It's essentially like Renaissance Venice, but it's all like fantasy, so you got guys, essentially resurrection men, who are using bodies to turn into these mechanical Frankenstein's monster kind of deals. You got full-blown Cthulhu cultists, you got the church, you got everybody throwing down. But they offered, there's one character who is like a spirit, and there's the standard plastic version you can buy, and then they said, hey, we have a special edition transparent purple plastic version. They're like, it's like $30, limited run, that's it. I think I've mentioned this before in videos, but that is how you do getting extra money from players. If someone, you know, do a limited edition version of a miniature and be like, hey, if you can, this is tournament legal, if you want to run it, run it. If you want to buy multiples, buy multiples. It plays exactly the same as the standard miniature, it just looks different. Because I can guarantee people will buy it. I knew dudes back when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! A ton who, and to a degree I was one of them, who went out of their way to get the gold edition of certain cards. That's just what I did and what other people did. I knew dudes who ran exclusively gold versions of certain cards. They would run the Battle Terminal Edition versions. They would run anything that wasn't standard. If a card had a holo and a non-holo version, you can bet some of these dudes were shelling double, triple, quadruple the price for just the holo edition. And that's the thing, people will buy it. Games Workshop doesn't have to sit here and do their stupid thing of like, for Christmas you can get the Christmas gobbo. It's a goblin in a Santa outfit. Isn't that quirky and neat? Cool, I don't care. I would rather have something I can actually use that I'm spending money on than a completely irrelevant, non-functional miniature. You know, it's like they don't understand how to sell good limited run items. I mean, they haven't done it yet, but I'm waiting for Games Workshop to be real stupid and lean into NFTs. Now that everybody hates them, now that the market has gone absolutely through the floor, I'm surprised they're not going for it. Hell, Ubisoft recently, some new game got leaked to theirs. And they're like, oh, don't worry guys, there's no NFTs. Square Enix is still leaning into them. Why? I don't know. The Japanese industry especially apparently didn't get the memo that nobody really cares and nobody has a practical use for them. God, it just drives me nuts. Games Workshop could be doing a lot better, and that whole NFT thing just killed me. I remember Konami did that, selling like music from Castlevania. I'm like, you could make a new Castlevania, but they never will, because this is a little secret a lot of people don't seem to know. It turns out Konami's invested in a lot of stuff that isn't video games. They have money and projects within like medical supplies. Like right there, they don't have to make a video game for the rest of their existence, because medical is gonna outpace any earnings from video games. You know, simple as that. There's nothing video games can do that can be like, oh, we need to divest from medical companies to reinvest in video games. It's like if you had the option of investing in Games Workshop or any pharmaceutical company, which would you rather invest in? I would go pharmaceuticals, because people are always going to get sick. You know, people say that the only two guarantees in life are death and taxes, but I'd say illness is up there too. Whether you're catching a cold or catching ligma, you're getting something. Someone always is getting sick. You know, there's money in that. Guaranteed money. Not like we're suddenly gonna find the cure for everything. What do we get for items? Save the blueprint. I mean, that biomantic sword is worse than what I have. Cool. I love this. Level 37 armor. 2/5 of the abilities aren't even unlocked. It has an empty socket and it's still 9 quality higher than level 52 armor. I'm not swapping my staff out, even though that's really good, because my loot quantity's really high. That's kind of what I'm banking on here, plus that's a staff for this one. Ooh, damn, that actually... Yeah, screw it, we're gonna swap it out. Let's see, is this any good? I mean... Ah, God. Bonus AoE for psychic power, bonus damage for AoE psychic powers, bonus damage for bio-lightning, bonus damage for telekinesis psychic powers. So, I'd have to do AoE telekinesis for the best payout, or AoE bio-lightning. Or no, bio-lightning's a specific one, so that... Oh my god, no. You see the struggles I have to put up with here? Hey, that's actually good. suppression in enraged state blows. Hang on, was that loot quantity versus quality? You know what? Let's just keep going quantity. I don't need high quality if I have a high quality. Okay, that's actually, as I say that, that's a stupid sentence. Because that can screw me over. My quality has to be at a certain point, otherwise I'm just going to be getting a billion greens and a billion blues, and that doesn't get me anywhere. We'll see what we get.
These traitors live in defiance of our divine majesty. They corrupt the souls of innocents and commit heinous acts. Show them the wrath of the Emperor, Inquisitor.
Rest assured, I don't intend to let any heretic.
I've heard rumblings that Creative Assembly might be working on a 40K Total War game, which is interesting. At first I was like, really? We're going to be doing 40K Total War? But the more I thought about it, melee plays enough of a part in this game that you could get away with it. They'd have to do something for a proper cover system and more shot blockers. But short of that, it would be an interesting thing. Keep in mind, like I've said, I've heard rumblings, not any confirmation. Like a lot of people have said, it would make sense considering they're already kind of in good graces with Games Workshop. You know, they've shown Games Workshop they're competent with their IPs. Some people have said, oh, they could be doing an Age of Sigmar game, since Warhammer 3 has essentially been handed off to the DLC team, which means the main team is working on something else. And my whole thing is, if they did Age of Sigmar, I don't think it would sell well, because it'd be right on the heels of Warhammer 3, and at that point people are going to say, well, why am I buying this Warhammer when there's the older but now complete game out? Which I would instantly ask the same question. But 40K, it's different enough that they can get away with it. How they would do traveling between planets, I'm not 100% sure. There's ways you could do it. I'm just trying to think of the best way to articulate it. None of the ways I can think of are the most graceful, though. And that's really the problem. Because you could have where it's all set on one planet and it's one big conflict. You could kind of do like Dawn of War 1 did with the Calvara conflict, where there's like essentially lines that armies could travel. It's like, oh, you're going to the moon, you have to control this area, or this. It works. Am I going to say it's good? No. It was serviceable. That's the best way to describe it. It was serviceable. I would definitely not say that it's a primo design choice, but, you know, if it works, it works. The other thing people have said is the potential for another fantasy IP. You have Amazon with Lord of the Rings. I wouldn't, if I was anybody in charge of Amazon, I wouldn't trust their game studio with a Lord of the Rings game just yet. They haven't really been able to make anything worth note that's had any semblance of sticking around. People argue, oh, what about New World? Does anybody even talk about New World anymore? I'm sorry, but MMOs are arguably the hardest thing you could try to get into, especially on your first try now. This was the early 2000s? Sure. You know, WoW got into MMOs and Blizzard hadn't done MMOs before. But that was also the early 2000s. The only established ones that were really big still were like Ultima. You know, it was easy to leverage and do something unique. Now you're kind of fighting against old guard. If you do a space MMO, you're fighting against Eve. Eve's been around, God, you're well over a decade. What are they, 15 years or something at this point? Something long. If you're doing fantasy, you're torn between WoW and Final Fantasy. You are in the worst position. Unless you do a completely different combat style, you know, you go full-on, like, fighter, like, soul-style combat MMO, or you do, like, shooter like Destiny, you limit the number of players on screen so that you don't have to have delayed input kind of stuff, like what happened with the Old Republic, which just was a WoW clone. God, it has been 11 years, and I'm still butthurt over the Old Republic. Like, that was supposed to be the game. Like, I remember hearing about it, I was hyped. I played KOTOR 1 and 2, all my friends were excited, and at least the ones who played, you know, at least one of the KOTOR games. We were all like, yeah, this is gonna be amazing. I was broke as hell, I couldn't afford the game, especially a subscription, but I was still excited. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get money, I'll get this, it's gonna be fun. Second I saw gameplay, I was like, it's reskinned WoW. Instantly, I went from absolutely excited to just horrendously disappointed. You know, how am I supposed to have... at least I knew of, like, Star Wars Galaxies, where, yeah, it had that delayed input, but it was so much better than just stagnant classes, generic as all can be. God, even the appearance, thinking about it, like, that game went with the cartoony style that WoW kind of has. They went real bad, especially compared to Galaxies. It's a shame. But jumping back to, like, a new Total War, I could see them doing maybe a Lord of the Rings. If Microsoft was smart, it would help them, I think. Do a World of Warcraft Total War. Because it's not like Blizzard's making a Warcraft 4 anytime soon. So, you know, that's just sitting there. They can honestly just retell the story of Warcraft 2 or 3 and just have players play through that. I don't think a lot of people would be disappointed. I'd have fun. Play as the Naga, play as the Undead Horde. Hell, let me play as the Draenei, I don't really care. It'd be interesting. And I was watching a Lionheart's video, one of his videos is where he's doing a playthrough of Scrag the Slaughterer. And I think it's the Slaughterer, it's not the Butcher. Yeah. But he had said, you know, CA have effectively set themselves up with the best CV. For people who don't know, it's essentially your resume. Just a fancy way of saying it. Like, they set themselves up with the best resume for fantasy IPs. You know, you're gonna be hard-pressed to find another studio that can say with 100% certainty, hey, look at what we've done. We did a phenomenal job. The games have been well received. You should totally support us and, you know, invest in us and we can make a game using your IP. I mean, if I was making a strategy game, I can't think of anybody else. Strategy games have died. The few that remain are like Paradox. Well, Paradox is always going to remain because the type of dudes who play like Hearts of Iron, Europa, that Universalis, Stellaris, you know, guys like me, we don't have anywhere to go.
I need to.
Simple as that. This isn't the 2000s. There aren't exactly a whole lot of RTS games for us to go to anymore. Iron Harvest. Remember Iron Harvest? I do. They dropped that, like, It's Not America, but It's Totally America DLC, and the game died. Like, there were dudes I used to watch who do shoutcasts for the game, and I love watching casted games. Once again, shouting out to Guile, who does... Oh my god, I'm trying to think of the name of the game. Supreme Commander. It took me a while, that's like something. But he does casts for Supreme Commander. I love watching those. And there were some guys who did Iron Harvest, and they just dropped off the face of the earth. And it sucks. And I noticed, like, nobody plays it. I don't see anybody talking about it anymore. Halo Wars, not in the same kind of position, but that never got shoutcasts. And that one even went in the direction I think RTS games need to go. I don't know, man. I feel like RTS games, they've become a dying art. Which is tragic, because they're really fun. I do blame Blizzard, because they didn't do a damn thing with StarCraft for years. It has been a decade. Now that I think about it, I remember guys a decade ago talking about StarCraft 2. Oh my god, they haven't done anything of value with StarCraft.
Over the faithful.
I mean, they haven't done anything of value with anything in Blizzard's repertoire. They keep floundering. I swear it's because they must not have a good, like, direction, because a lot of people, like, I've never seen a studio sit and not make games for so long. They made Overwatch, and it's like, yeah, that's all you've done in 10 years. What studio can survive 10 years by putting out one game? But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.